The Little Mermaid, Hans Christian Andersen. Once upon a time, there was a sea king who had 6 beautiful mermaid daughters. When the mermaids were 15 years old, they had permission to come out of the sea. Each mermaid longed for this day. The youngest mermaid, the prettiest of them all, had always dreamt of the day she would see the outside world. At last her turn came. The sun just set when the little mermaid raised her head above the sea. She saw the sky for the first time in her life. The evening star was shining brightly. She saw the large ship with the 3 masts which her sisters had talked about. She heard music and singing coming from the brightly lit ship. Then hundreds of fireworks shot up into the sky, which shone as brightly as though it were day. The little mermaid swam close to the ship, where she saw a handsome young prince. It was his birthday. Suddenly, the sky became dark and dreadful. There was a storm that attacked the ship. Rumbling thunder and rolling waves frightened the crew, but not the little mermaid. The ship tossed among the waves, and at length cracked and began to sink into the water. The little mermaid dived down towards the bottom of the sea and found the prince unconscious. She must save him. She held him tightly and rose to the surface of the water. By the next morning, the storm was over. By the next morning, the storm was over. The little mermaid found herself on the shore with the prince. His arms and legs were numb. His eyes were still closed. She collected some fresh water in a shell and poured it into the prince's mouth. The little mermaid looked up and saw a young girl in the distance walking towards them. She was a princess. The little mermaid quickly swam away to hide between some rocks. The prince was frightened when he saw the princess. The princess was frightened when she saw the prince lying so still, but then he stirred. She said to him, "I am a princess, and this is my kingdom. I saw you were in trouble, and I came to help." "So you saved me. Thank you very much," said the prince. The princess ordered her servant to carry him to the castle. The little mermaid was left alone, feeling very sad. "If only the prince knew it was I who saved him," said the little mermaid. Tears of pearl rolled down her cheeks because she was in love with the prince. Each day after dark, she would sit on a rock looking at the castle in the moonlight, but she never saw the prince again. Her sisters worried about her. They told her that she could see the prince if the sea witch turned her into a human being. little mermaid made up her mind to risk her life for the prince and went to the witch's house. It was in a dark forest surrounded by skeletons and hissing water snakes. The little mermaid asked fearfully, "Please, will you give me legs?" "I'll give you legs. In exchange, you must give me your voice," said the sea witch. "But be warned, if you don't marry the prince, you will become merely foam on the waves." "I understand," replied the little mermaid. The little mermaid swallowed the magic potion given to her by the sea witch. Gradually, she drifted off to sleep. And when she awoke, she was on the sand. She found that her fish tail was gone, and 2 pretty legs were in its place. The prince, who had been walking along the beach, saw the pretty girl, and he came up to her and asked, "What happened?" And all she could do was gaze at him sadly, for she could not speak. The prince took her to his palace and gave her a pretty dress. The little mermaid wished she had told him. The little mermaid wished she could have told him how happy she was. But as she was unable to sing or speak, she showed her happiness by dancing. Everyone was enchanted, especially the prince. Day by day, she grew dearer to the prince. He loved her like his little sister. One day, the prince said to the little mermaid, "I am going to marry the princess. I am going to marry the princess who saved my life." The little mermaid could not weep, but sighed instead. She knew that if the prince married another, she would change into sea foam the next morning. The wedding day dawned, and after the ceremony, they all went aboard the ship for a celebration. When it grew dark, the little mermaid stood on the deck, thinking of the prince. Sadly, she looked at the waves, knowing that in the morning she would just be sea foam. One by one, she saw her sisters rising out of the water. "We have given our hair to the witch in exchange for this magic knife," they said. "Before the sun rises, you must kill the prince or you will die." They handed the knife to her and sank beneath the waves. The little mermaid did not want to kill the prince because she loved him. She stared at the sharp knife I could never kill my love for the sake of my life. Farewell, my prince. Farewell, father. Forgive me, dear sisters, and farewell. She cried to herself before throwing the knife and herself over into the sea. The little mermaid sank into the water, and all around her floated hundreds of beautiful transparent bubbles. She thought her body was dissolving into foam, but she found herself rising out of the water and up into the rosy clouds. The angels, the spirits of the air, were holding her hand and carrying her higher and higher into the heavens. Shining like a beautiful ray of light was the little mermaid who had given up everything for love. So that is the Hans Christian Andersen version of The Little Mermaid. There were a few things that they left out in this book that was inspired by the Hans Christian Andersen Little Mermaid. And that was how the Little Mermaid lost her voice was the evil sea witch cut out her tongue, and that's why she wasn't able to speak or sing. And also, the sea witch warned the Little Mermaid that whenever she walked, her feet would feel as if they are walking on knives. So those were a few things that they left out in this version, inspired by the Hans Christian Andersen inspired Little Mermaid. So those were a few things they left out in this book. So just letting you know. But anyways, thank you for watching and listening, and have a good rest of your day. And leave any comments and feel free to subscribe. Thanks. Bye.